referring to is the Louvre Museum, the most famous and largest art museum in the world, located in Paris, France. Let's go through its full history step by step. The beginning. As a fortress, Will 1190s, the Louvre began not as a museum, but as a fortress built by King Philip Augustus in 1190. It was meant to protect Paris from Viking and English invasions coming up the Seine River. Parts of this medieval fortress can still be seen today in the museum's basement. 2. The Royal Palace, 1500s to 1600. The 16th century, King Francis I transformed the old fortress into a royal palace. Francis I loved art. He even brought Leonardo da Vinci to France and bought his painting Mona Lisa, La Joconde. Later kings like Henry IV, Louis III, and Louis XIV expanded the palace and filled it with magnificent artwork. 3. From palace to museum, late 1700s. By the 17th century, Louis XIV moved his royal residence to Versailles, leaving the Louvre mainly for artists and scholars to work in. During the French Revolution, 1789, the people decided that the royal art collection should belong to everyone, not just kings. So in 1793, the Louvre officially became a public museum called the Muséum Central des Arts de la République. 4. Napoleon and the expansion, 1800s. During Napoleon Bonaparte's rule, the museum was renamed Musée Napoléon. He filled it with art from his military conquests all over Europe, sculptures, paintings, and treasures. After his defeat, many works were returned, but the Louvre still remained one of the richest collections in the world. 5. The modern Louvre, 1900s today. Over the centuries, more art, archaeology, and history pieces were added from ancient Egypt, Greece, Rome, Mesopotamia, and beyond. In 1989, the glass pyramid designed by architect I.M. Pei was built as the main entrance, now one of Paris's icons. Today, the Louvre has over 35,000 works on display and over 8 departments of art and history. 6. The 8 departments of the Louvre. 1. Egyptian antiquities. 2. Near Eastern antiquities, Mesopotamia, Persia, etc. Greek, Etruscan, and Roman antiquities. 4. Islamic art. 5. Sculptures. 6. Decorative arts. 7. Paintings. 8. Prints and drawings. 7. Today's Louvre. The Louvre welcomes millions of visitors every year. It's the most visited museum in the world. Its most famous artworks include Mona Lisa, Leonardo da Vinci, Venus de Milo, ancient Greek sculpture, Winged Victory of Samothrace, Liberty Leading the People, Eugène Delacroix. Fortress can still be seen in the museum's basement today. 2. Transformation into a royal palace, 16th century. In the 16th century, King Francis I transformed the fortress into a royal palace. He loved art and brought many paintings from Italy, including the most famous of all, Leonardo da Vinci's Mona Lisa. Over the next centuries, French kings and queens, including Louis XIV, expanded and decorated the palace with grand halls, courtyards, and galleries. However, when Louis XIV moved his court to Versailles in 1682, the Louvre stopped being a royal residence. 3. Becoming a public museum, 1793. After the French Revolution, the Louvre was turned into a public museum in 1793. The idea was that the nation's treasures should belong to all people, not just the monarchy. It opened with about 500 paintings, many of which were taken from royal collections and churches. The collections today, the Louvre holds over 35,000 artworks displayed in 8 departments: Egyptian antiquities, Greek, Etruscan, and Roman antiquities, Near Eastern antiquities, Islamic art, sculptures, decorative arts, paintings, prints, and drawings. Famous masterpieces include Mona Lisa, Leonardo da Vinci, Venus de Milo, Ancient Greece, Winged Victory of Samothrace, Liberty Leading the People, Eugène Delacroix. Modern Louvre and its glass pyramid. In 1989, architect I.M. Pei designed the glass pyramid in the main courtyard, which became a modern symbol of the museum. Though controversial at first, it now stands as one of the most iconic landmarks in Paris. How the Louvre stores and preserves art. The Louvre uses advanced climate control, lighting, and security systems to protect its treasures. Artworks are kept at stable temperature and humidity. Restoration experts clean and repair pieces when needed. The museum also has underground storage and research labs to study ancient and delicate artifacts. The Louvre today, it welcomes over 9 million visitors every year. It has an extension in Abu Dhabi called Louvre Abu Dhabi, opened in 2017. It represents not just direct result of the French Revolution in the late 18th century. Here's how it happened, step by step. 1. The Louvre before the Revolution. Before the French Revolution, the Louvre was not a museum at all. It started as a fortress in the 12th century under King Philip II to protect Paris. Later, in the 16th century, it became a royal palace for French kings like Francis I and Louis XIV. These kings filled it with private art collections, paintings, sculptures, and treasures, but they were only for royal eyes, not for the public. The French Revolution begins, 1789. When the French Revolution broke out in 1789, the monarchy was overthrown and the people demanded equality, not just in government, but in access to art and knowledge. Revolutionaries believed that the royal collections should belong to the nation, not just the king. Transformation into a public museum, 1793. In August 1793, the National Assembly, the revolutionary government, officially opened the Muséum Central des Arts de la République inside the Louvre Palace. That marked the birth of the Louvre as a public museum. The art that once belonged to the king, nobles, and the church was seized and nationalized. The goal was to educate and inspire all citizens, not just the wealthy elite. What happened next? The museum's first collections included works from the royal family, the church, and noble estates. Over time, Napoleon Bonaparte, during his conquests, added thousands of artworks taken from other countries, many of which later had to be returned. The museum expanded through the 19th and 20th centuries, becoming one of the most famous and visited in the world. Chave, symbol of the people. The transformation of the Louvre after the French Revolution symbolized a new France, a nation where art and culture belonged to everyone. It stood as a powerful statement that beauty and knowledge are the rights of all. That's a really interesting question. The Vikings didn't directly affect the Louvre Museum, the lovely museum you're referring to, but they did influence the early history of Paris, which in turn affected the history of the Louvre site long before it became a museum. Here's how it connects step by step. 1. Viking raids on Paris, 9th century. In the 9th century, Viking raiders attacked Paris several times. The most famous attack was in 845 AD, led by Ragnar Lodbrok, when they sailed up the Seine River and forced the French king to pay them to leave. Later, in 885 to 886 AD, they besieged Paris again for months. These repeated attacks showed how vulnerable the city was to invaders coming by river. Number 2, the need for defense. Because of the Viking raids, the French kings decided to fortify Paris. About 2 centuries later, around 1190, King Philip II, Philippe Auguste, built a fortress on the Seine's right bank to protect the city from northern invasions, especially those that could come the same route as the Vikings once did. That fortress was called the Louvre. 3. From fortress to palace to museum. 12th to 14th centuries, the Louvre started as that Viking-inspired defensive fortress. 16th century, it was transformed into a royal palace by French kings. 1793, after the French Revolution, it was opened to the public as the Muséum Central des Arts, the Louvre Museum. So even though the Vikings never touched the museum itself, it didn't exist yet, their